Okay, so thanks for being on the call today or on the Zoom today for um, listing agreement extensions and time frames and price changes. The question that I have been getting from some agents is, once you take a listing agreement, how do they change the price or the time frame or any extensions afterwards? After they've already taken the listing, and maybe there's changes a couple of weeks or so later. So that's what this is about. So I'm going to share my screen, and let's see, share. Okay, and hopefully you can see that I do have the residential listing agreement on the screen. Can you just confirm for me, Jeremy?
Yep. Yes, yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have the listing agreement. So like I said, let's say you took the listing, you got your price in here, 700,000. And normally, of course, the listing term is entered in here, the beginning date and the end date. I left this blank just for now so that I could tell you if ever this is blank, your listing is invalid. So never leave it blank. Make sure you have your beginning and end date in here. Okay. And so the question was from the agent, what do I do if, okay, let's say if today is the end date here, and now, you want to have the listing extended maybe, right? So if you want to have it extended, and of course we're talking about this area here. Well, that looks pretty crazy. So anyhow, so if they want to extend the date, you're going to use the modification of terms, okay, which I have. Oops, now I'm doing too much clicking. Hold on one second. Okay, so we have the modification of terms. So this is the form that you will use. And if you look at the bottom, it's called MT for modification of terms. That's the abbreviation for it. And you use this when you have a listing and you want to change either the price, the expiration date, or something other. Okay, so depending on what you and your client are talking about. So let's just say, for example, well, we were talking about the date. So if the end date, let's say it was expiring a couple of days ago, and you spoke with the seller and they're giving you an opportunity to extend the date out, so that way you still have a chance to sell the property, then you would use this form, and right here where it says expiration date, you put in the date that they're giving you. And so for this example, I put July 23rd, basically giving you another month to sell this property, right? So that's how that works. And now you could use this form to actually do both. If you're changing the price and the expiration date, you can do that. And you would put in the price here, actually here where it says dollars. You'll type it in and then it'll spell it out for you. So you can do one or the other, or you could do both, and you can also have an other in here, just depending on what you and the seller is talking about. Okay. Now I don't want you to be confused with the extension of time addendum. Remember, the modification of terms, if you look at the very top right here, the modification of terms, we check the box saying that this is the listing agreement that we are modifying. They also have buyer representation agreement if you check that box, and then there is another box for other. Okay, but if you're on the listing side, basically this is the document that you would use to make these changes. So now don't be confused with this one, the extension of time addendum. Okay, so if you're on the buyer side, you would mainly use this, and it says the following terms and conditions are hereby incorporated in and made a part of the what? California Residential Purchase Agreement. Okay, so let's say you maybe you need more time to close the escrow, which is number 1 here. So the scheduled close of escrow is extended to, if you were trying to close today, but you guys are late, and then maybe you agreed with the other side that you guys need to go through to July 15th. You'll put that date in here. It's very important that if you are going beyond the scheduled close of escrow, you need to do an extension. So please keep that in mind. Your escrow officer should also be telling you that you need an extension, but you should know that. So you need to keep up with your deadlines and time frames. Don't rely on a TC to tell you. You should know your deadlines and time frames yourself. And if that date is coming up and you don't think you're going to make that closing date, you need to do an extension, okay? And I do recommend, of course, speaking with the other side first rather than just sending it over. Make sure you guys are in agreement to extend this escrow, and then get this form signed by your buyer.
So
Yes.
what, if I can ask, what would happen if escrow forgot and you forgot to do this and you're going to close a week later? What would happen?
Well, I'm sure someone's going to bring it up because the dates are not going to be right. So escrow, I believe, would eventually bring it up, because if they're trying to close and buyer's trying to sign docs, the lender may even ask for it and say, hey, you guys are late on closing. We need some sort of extension or something. So it definitely should come up somewhere, because then the escrow, technically, if they had a date of June 15th as opposed to July 15th, it's like that escrow, did not close on time. Someone needs to extend it. So
Right. And this should be at the top of our mind, of course, too.
right. So basically, though, when you get your buyer to sign, and then, normally you do let escrow know. Escrow will send out their own extension on their escrow paperwork. They'll send out an amendment for the close date, and then you guys, both parties, will need to sign that one as well. Okay, but hopefully nobody forgets, and it should be extended definitely, if that's what you guys are doing. And then on number 2, extension of contingencies. Okay, so so it says the following contingencies, if checked, is or are extended to, and let's say we want to extend the loan. I checked the box for loan right here. Sorry, and we want to extend it to July 10th, right? Because the escrow is also going over, which I'm sure is a good reason, right? It's going to have something to do with the loan. Maybe the lender needs more time. Maybe something came up and we need to extend things. So this is how you do it. Okay, so if you're extending, it also has buyer investigation. So maybe the buyer wants to do more investigation on the properties, and you guys, you haven't removed that contingency yet, or you need more time to remove that contingency and to investigate, then you can use this for number 2, and you can check the box for buyer investigation. Okay. So again, you don't have to use every single item here, so don't think that everything has to be filled out. If you're using it to just extend the escrow, you can just do number 1, have it signed, send it over to the other side, because see down here it says the seller also needs to sign. And or if you're extending the contingencies, then you'll have that signed. Okay, you have that filled out and completed. So it's really not too much to these 2 forms. It's just in case you didn't know how to extend the time frame or the contingencies, and these are the 2 forms to use. Do you have a question? Does anyone have a question regarding the modification of terms or the ETA? If you have a question? No, you good? Okay. All right. So, I mean, it's pretty short and simple. Not a whole lot to these forms. Just again, remember on the listing agreement, oh, as well as the price here on the modification. I'm sure I brought it up, but just saying, if let's say, because I know an agent asked, if the seller, let's say, you've been trying to sell the property now, it's been on the market 2 or 3 weeks, and now seller decides to do a price decrease, and then you would do it here as well. Okay, just type in the price and it'll spell it out for you. Get it signed, and you'll have that for your file. This is just between you and the seller side, basically. Yeah, so these 2 are pretty short and sweet. So if you have questions, you can ask now. If not, you can always call me, text me, email me later if you have questions then. Other than that, these were two simple forms to go over, just showing you how to do the extensions or change the price. Okay? That's pretty much it, unless you have a question. Real short and sweet.
Yeah, no, pretty simple.
All right.
Good
Thank
form.
you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Thanks for coming on. Okay, see you next time.
Have a good day. Thank you.
All right. Okay, you too.